All right. Okay. So now, this one is Devil's in the DNA Chapter 2. Shit in one hand and want in the other. So what we're doing is we are examining the effects of one's own DNA profile along with the myriad of nurture factors that come into play. So what I'm trying to do is to bring some new life into the world, and all I can focus on is my own childhood and the anxiety of being a parent much like mine own. I say mine own here because this section is about how my father, who is from East Texas, and they have a very specific accent as well as vernacular. You'll get used to it. So let's begin to point out my father's crazy bits. Again, I put the spotlight on these bits for selfish purposes of being able to make excuses later and having, some fantastic documentation to attest to the fact that I have very good reasons for being so inept and sorry-assed. Sorry-assed is another father word, and from here on I will mark them with an asterisk just to let you know that I'm not completely weird, and add definitions at the bottom of the post for needed. Some of my father's favorite sayings I will mark with a this, so you will get the flavor of the old coot. This is a long one, so grab a cup of joe and settle in. My father doesn't tell me much about his childhood. Only recently has he begun to tell me, a few things. Not as entertaining as my mother's, but, what my dad lacks in background information, he more than makes up with his booze-addled tales of aberrant misconduct. I'll just start out with the History Channel version. My father was born a third child to a homemaker of Dutch descent, a bus driver of Irish and Native American descent. Listen, pause button for just a second. Motherfucker, I took a DNA test. Your daddy wasn't Irish. Your daddy was not Native American. Okay, so the Native American part, that's part of all that white bullshit where there was like a princess and all that. Yeah, that's a whole bunch of bullshit. But now, the interesting part is, who was his daddy? Because DNA says his daddy was the German. So I opened up a can with that one, but nobody cares. Okay, unpause. And a bus driver of Irish and Native American descent. 2 older brothers. One became a doctor, the other a lawyer, and a baby sister who became an angel. Paternal side potato farmers from Ireland who liked banging hot redskins. I wrote that. I'm so sorry. Maternal side coal miners from Holland who liked to die of black lung. Apparently my father's father was a real prick. Never met the man, but I hear some things, though, racist and misogynistic and bigoted, you name it. He was also a big-time drinker and gambler. A story about him that I only heard a few years ago was that there was a monthly poker game held at a seedy motel of an even seedier fellows would then attend, and they would drink and gamble and fight all night. And then one night, my dear old grandpappy, I guess, must have gone and done a very bad thing because someone tried to gut him with a knife. My father then said when he asked his dad about the scars that his father told him Injuns had attacked him. My father found out years later, after his dad passed away, that this was a crock of shit. That is another one of my father's sayings. To further highlight the ferocity, of the male line, my father's grandfather was nicknamed Hard, H-A-R-D, Hard, because he was such an ass. Apparently his wife was a raging bitch, too. One night, Hard shot and killed a man in Fort Worth during a dispute of some kind. He fled to Oklahoma until the coast was clear. Oh golly, I hope I have a boy. Spoiler alert, you have 2 boys. Back to it. My father's mother, in my opinion, was the most awesome woman in the world. When I asked my dad what he thought about his mother, his bland reply was, well, I never heard her complain. That's awesome. Awesome insight, Daddy dear. I know they were pretty poor. They had a milk cow named Bessie, of all fucking things. I have the blank, not the blank, I can read. I have the bank loan papers to prove it. So they had some chickens for eggs and fried giblets and a small garden for veggies. They would can food. I say they. That was my nanny. Okay, I say they. This is that Little Red Hen story, where the little red hens walked around. It's like, anybody wants you to help, with bread? And everybody's like, no. But then when she gets the bread, everybody's like, give me some bread. And Little Red Hen's why I love the story. She's like, fuck y'all. No. Like, effort, motherfuckers. But no, I digressed off all that. No, that would just my nanny would be doing all of the canning. And again, off script, fucking amazing. Jesus, her food. God. Anyway, okay, back to it. They would can food for winter months, and my father's mother made all of the family's clothing. My father had to put newspaper in his shoes, which were passed down by his brothers. And he had to put the newspaper to cover the holes and to keep out the snow. All of the children worked odd jobs to make money. It was a hard, but it was a simple life. My father used to hop the train and ride it to Terrell to work in the drugstore there as a soda jerk. Before you start picturing my father as freaking George Bailey or something like that, read on, or in this case, watch on. I don't have many tales of my father growing up, but my father did tell me of how when he was a teenager, he and his pals would pool money together and head over to, they called it In Town with the R. I'm having a hard time even saying it, and in here I wrote down In Town. I refuse to write it out. It just makes me cringe. Anyway, there were some brothers in the hood who would buy liquor for white boys for a cut of the proceeds. And my dad said that they always got cherry brandy every time. My skinny-ass cracker father would sometimes get brave and ask if they could have something different instead. Every time he would get a hard stare with an answer along the lines of, boy, you lucky I don't break your crack-ass head with this motherfucking bottle. Drink the shit, you little bitch. And then let Dad just go running off, sipping on his cherry brandy, looking for trouble, right? Trouble in young women with daddy issues. Remember that I said that. Young women with daddy issues. He married my mom when she was 19, and he was 27. It's pertinent to the story later on, but let me get back to this. Okay. Where was I? Young women with daddy issues, right. After high school, my father joined the Air Force and was shipped off to North Dakota, and you have to say it like that because that's the way he always said it, North Dakota. One weekend during a whiteout blizzard, my father and some of his buddies, they drove their car right past the guards at the gate, keeping the door open to watch for the stripes on the road, and drove all the way into town. So from here, they called their captain and gave him a line about having been in town on a weekend passes, and now they were, stranded, but they're on their way, and they might just be late for check-in. And so, of course, the captain's like, stay in town, stay safe. So apparently they boozed it up, gambled, partied with hookers for 3 days. His stint in the Air Force, my father, after that, he attended law school for free. For free. I just have to, break for free. If anybody happens to be watching this and is like, boomers are the greatest generation, leech my left, for free. I just needed to hit pause on that and just remind everybody that he's still piss poor motherfucker. He doesn't have shit. He still has newspaper in his shoes. He got a law degree. That is essentially a doctorate in law. He got a law degree from U fucking T. Okay? Hook 'em horns and all that. Okay? Just a pause button. My children, the one that come at the end of this tale, as my purported old grandpappy, Irish grandpappy would say, oh, saints protect us, I don't fucking know. I'm gonna get back to this now, because things are different and not better in that way. Anyway. Boop. After his stint in the Air Force, my father attended law school. He worked full-time. He took uppers for breakfast and lunch and booze and downers at night. Then he married my mom. Then they had me. Poor daddy-o. No more shenanigans for you, right? Ha! Well, fuck that. My father is a charismatic son of a bitch. After my arrival, my father lived in constant fear that I, as a small child, might ruin the party and the legacy of his charisma. My father loves a party and is the life of said party. No one likes kids, my father would tell me, as we would prep for a party or a night out at the country club. Let me just pause. This country club was in Clarendon, Texas. Google Earth that shit. Okay. At the country club. You all need to understand, when I say country club, it was a club of white people, okay, in the middle of the country. Google Earth it. Howardwick, Texas, Clarendon Country Club. Google Earth it. The legacy around this thing is the people who built it love to fucking drink so much. The swimming pool is in the shape of a wine carafe. The roughs on the golf course there, the rough, that was mesquite bushes. Google Earth it. Okay, because you need to see what I see when I say country club. Okay? Just Google Earth it. Alright, gotta get back. Okay. Party or a night out to the country club. As a matter of fact, people hate kids. And do you know why? He would ask me. Because they remind them of why they shouldn't have kids in the first place. I mean, it made kind of sense when I was a wee lass, so in an attempt to nullify the catastrophic effect that I would have on adults, my dad always taught me a joke. He choreographed it, staged it, implanted inflection in my timing. Many of the jokes were like the kind of Johnny Fucker Faster jokes of the 70s. There's really nothing funnier than a child a little tipsy from finishing off her dad's cocktails, telling a Johnny Fucker Faster joke. The punchline of the Johnny, if you don't know, the Johnny Fucker Faster jokes, the punchline is, Johnny Fucker Faster, that's his name. Johnny Fucker Faster. The punchline is, I'm trying. Like 6 or 7 years old, okay? I need you to understand, like a little pause here. For anyone who's not my friends, like this really isn't for my delicious fruits. This is for anyone, like, at this point in time in the story, it gets hilarious, but I need you to know that it's not funny. Okay, I was joking with my fruits earlier. Yeah, so any of y'all, like, my fruits can just scroll on. But it's like when I watched Eddie Murphy's Raw, and I just broke down hysterically crying because his childhood was so fucking traumatic. Okay? This is one of the... All right, so we're going to get back to it. Johnny Fucker Faster. Okay, it's great. My father would work, prime, and adjust my timing until I was perfect. Any kiddo in elementary school would be able to, present age-appropriate jokes with perfect aplomb, and I did. To uproarious applause and hugs and kisses and praise. Just the thing to reinforce in a child. I still remember receiving this compliment from the host of one party. If we could have been if we could have been guaranteed a child like you, we would have actually wanted children. At the time, I was like, woo! I know how to make people love me. Do. Can I talk about an Uber personality formation from this point on for me? Okay. As well as how I related to and still relate to my father. He dead now. I killed him, but more on that later. From making my daddy cocktails to when he first got home from work so he would love me more than mommy, duh. To being a cocktail waitress at his poker parties. Grown-ass men. I don't know if I write it in here, but I'm just going to bust it. Grown-ass men. I was 12. I was just wearing an oversized t-shirt and underwear because that's what I wore to bed. Any hoozles. To being a cocktail waitress at his poker parties, my instructions were thus: start off strong in the drinks until they start betting stupid, and then water down the drinks to save on booze and keep them from passing out, but then back to strong when they start winning again. Glorious. I made a lot of money. More on that later. Once at a party in the 70s, my dad and his buddies were sitting around the house getting drunk and high watching The Man Who Fell to Earth. Have you ever seen it? Try being a little one watching it through the crack in the door. It's fucking trippy, dude. It's scary as hell. That movie is over, so I sneak back to my room and into bed, and then I hear some scratching on the screen of my window. Scratch, thump, rustle, tap, tap, tap. Jesus, titty fucking Christ, what is that? So what's a child to do? Well, I certainly cannot interrupt the party with my childish fears. I mean, that would make Daddy most angry. So I did what any young child reared in Texas would do. I went to my dad's drawer. I pulled out his Colt 45 out of its case. Only thing was, this bitch didn't have a lever like my BB gun so that I could cock it. Well, fuck stockings. Think, Divine, let's think. Oh, well, I bet the boys wouldn't mind me simply asking for a quick favor and then just moving on. Besides, Daddy will be so happy that I'm taking initiative and protecting myself. What a winner. So in my little pink, you have to understand how small I was. In my little pink floor length nightie with the pretty lace on the bottom, on my tippy toes into the party room, whacking the butt of this loaded 45. I just waft across the room, so much pigtailed, toe-headed death. How do you cock this thing? I ask to a room of quiet and suddenly very sober partygoers. My father, all hint of Native American draining from his face. He's white, everybody. He's white. He's German. He's white. But he did tan beautifully, so it's that color. But it did not come from the indigenous people of this land. I need to make that clear. Okay, back to it. Where was it? All hints of Native American draining from his face being rapidly replaced with a lovely Irish pallor. Not Irish either, dude. German. Why do you ask? I throw my hands on my hips as if to display my wile and cunning, and also to let them know that they are hopeless noobs when it comes to weaponry. Why do I ask? Because, Daddy, There's a bad man outside my window who's bothering me, and I need to go shoot him. I didn't want to say that it was possible that it was an alien David Bowie and that I was most likely, at my window and he just wanted to share in his disgusting mating ritual eyeball replacing stuff. But that would just be silly for a girl to say. So at the moment, the Episcopal priest who had been providing the pot for the party that he had procured by using an X-Acto knife to hollow out his Bible on a recent missionary trip to Mexico comes into the room. Does anybody know? I was getting really exasperated at this point. I was pretty tired, and I was getting bitchy. Give Daddy the gun, sweetie. Daddy will fix it. So I just tromped unceremoniously across the room, pissed that he hadn't just told me how to do it. Mansplaining motherfucker. Again, trying to keep a lady down. I digress. I tromped unceremoniously across the room, pissed that he hadn't just told me how to do it, and he had thereby ruined my gangsta cred with his posse. And I slammed the gun into his outstretched hand. My dad cocked an eyebrow toward the now sweating and nearly how do you say that? Flagellating priest? Scott, why, were you by any chance outside my daughter's window just now? A collective whoosh, right? Like the cartoons. Snap. The figure in the holy collar that was practically pissing himself. He's standing at the door. It's like, you only have one bathroom, he began, and I really needed to pee, so I decided to go outside around the corner of the house. I saw her come into her bedroom, and I thought it'd be funny to scare her a little. Did I scare you, sweetheart? In the room, shifting their attention to the alien-killing badass at the other end, produced it. I mean, like you heard the whoa. It was no longer a whoosh. No, it was faster than that. It created its own atmosphere, like like it was shooting out like gravitational waves to try and like recenter everything there, right? Hurricane eye just hit the room, motherfucker, and it's me, and I'm 6 or so, and you're fucked. Anyway. You only have one bathroom, he began, and I really needed pee, so I go outside and go around the corner of the house, and I see her bedroom. Where the fuck was I? Oh, yeah. I go around that corner, and I saw her coming in. Did I scare you, sweetheart? And the room, shifting their attention to the alien-killing badass at the other end, produced a whoosh of wind. You're stupid, I said, and flicked my pigtails at him as I headed back to my room. I heard the din of laughter. Like, it lulled me to fucking sleep. I dined off this story of absolute atrocity. Anywhoozles. My parents divorced in 1982. They took me out to the front porch and gently broke the news. I sat there for a moment thinking, and then I said, who gets the VCR? I want to go live with whoever gets the VCR. And I don't want to live in Lubbock. Lubbock is gross. My parents were thrilled. What a strong little girl they had created. Because that is such a normal response from an 11-year-old when she's told her parents are divorcing. Hanyaks. My mother took everything but the bed. My father didn't have a pot to piss in nor a window to throw it out of. My father loved it. He pulled his poker table up from the basement, borrowed fold-out chairs from the club. Remember the club? And that was the only furniture he had. He was grinning like a jackass in a briar patch. Oh no, please don't throw me in the briar patch. Oh! If you don't get that reference, like I'm old, but I will sit here and wait for you to go Google jackass in a briar patch and how the jackass is a trickster character, because the jackass can eat the briars. The jackass is a donkey. Donkeys can eat, like, you will be fucking amazed. So, anyway. I was like, jackass? Jack Rabbit? Jackass? Jack Rabbit? Anyway, back to here. Jackass and a Briar Patch. Boom. Ate pie for breakfast, pizza for lunch, and as much booze as his heart desired for dinner. He held party after party. Some nights the partygoers would drag his mattress out into the front lawn, and he would launch their drunk asses off of the porch swing, spinning and flipping like school kids. I have never in my life seen my father so happy. Sure, he would take drunk and forget to, come get me at the designated pickup place for my weekends with him. I mean, sure, he'd be hung over and he would sleep until 2 or 3 and forget to, bring me back. I mean, sure, he drove me blinding drunk with a roadie between his legs all around the panhandle, but I mean, it didn't matter. He was happy. And a little girl wants her daddy happy, right? Yes. So, when I was around 13, my dad remarried. She came from a very wealthy family, and my dad had always dreamed of coming from or even just being around money. They got a big new house and wallpapered the fuck out of it. She already had 2 children from a previous marriage. I mean, now I finally had siblings. They were small, they were sweet. Her family was very nice. I mean, I liked them all a lot. I was unhealthy. My father still went to parties, but now he went to parties where there was caviar and single malt scotches. No Johnny Fucker Faster jokes here. I was at a loss. But he was still the life of the party. He always is. I mean, we had a good run for about 2 years, and then I hit a major puberty problem, and it was on. So my relationship with my father liked to snap like a hangman's noose. I started wearing makeup and punk clothes. I started drinking and smoking and fucking, and my dad loves to tell a story of how overnight I just changed into this demon child. The way he tells it, he just comes rolling up with a new family in tow to pick me up for our weekend together, and there she was, my darling daughter, black lipstick, hair all fucked up, combat boots, ripped jeans, safety pins sticking out of her head. I never wore safety pins that stuck on my head, and I mean everywhere else, yeah, but not in my head. My father likes a good story, so I let him tell it, and I just nod and I smile and I shrug. I was in a car accident the summer I turned 16. It fucked me up pretty good. I was in the hospital for a week mending a cracked hip and a head injury, and I was doped to the hilt. I always had friends there, lines and lines of them. It was so awesome. So one night, a guy friend of mine was in the room, and the little parentheses things, try telling a bunch of punk and burner it's like an aside. Try telling a bunch of punk and burner teenagers that visiting hours are over and see what that will get you. They hated me there. Oh my God, they hated me there. Anyway, keeping vigil over me, and I started to hallucinate. Where was it? From all of the painkillers and crack they were pumping into me. I started flailing my arms to stave off. The evil leprechaun attack. I forget some of this stuff. The evil leprechaun attack that was being launched upon me. So my friend crawled into the hospital bed to pin my arms down so I wouldn't pull out my IVs. So just then a nurse walks in. Miss Devine, we are not allowing such things in this hospital. So long story short, she calls my father and tells him that I'm shagging a boy in the room and that he had better come get his daughter under control. My father made the hour-and-a-half drive in just over 30 minutes, and what resulted was a tirade of biblical proportions. Never before and never again in my life have I been called so many things. Never in my life have I been so utterly crushed, my heart broken so irreparably. My mother had to give me a paper bag to breathe into because I was sobbing so hard. My mother never stuck up for me. She always hated that my dad and I had a bond that she didn't have. It was a gross bond, okay? Let's not fucking talk about it. She hated that my dad and I had this bond that she and I didn't. All was well in her world. He didn't speak to me for months. Months and months and months. And then it was like it never happened. If you ask my dad about it now, he'll tell you how he and his wife apparently had a chuckle about how absurd they thought that nurse was to presume that a girl with a broken hip would be having sex. Yeah. How droll indeed. Yeah, that was my fucking point. A long ago. Any hoozles. Another thing that you can ask my father is, what was it like to be my Potter unit during my voyage to womanhood? And he would say, shit. Till she was about 5, I thought she was a retard. Hell, I liked her okay until she was about 12. 13, 27, she was a fucking asshole. Loves to tell this to everyone, including me. In his defense, I was a fucking asshole, okay? But the years are wrong. 15 to 29 is more like when I was the asshole. So after that defining moment of the hospital incident, my father continues to tell me exactly how he feels about any given thing without a modicum of decorum or sugarcoating for the ego. And I continue not to tell him much of anything that really matters, but like any child will do, I keep trying. For instance, I try to have him talk a little about, us having a baby. Like any emotionally distant father-daughter relationship, we keep our chats mostly to emails. I have still not told my mother. But I will get to that in a later post, but for whatever reason I decided to tell my father about our infertility problems. Since I deleted the actual email in a fit of rage, I will just have to summarize. I don't remember this at all. He thought it was a stupid idea. He said that it was a stupid idea and that if he and my mother had had to pay that amount, I would have never existed. He threw in some stuff about how children ruin your ability to have fun, reminded me that I would have to stop smoking and drinking, and suggested my husband and I spend the money on travel instead. Wow. I know why I deleted that in a fit of fucking rage. The fuck? It took me a good hour to respond to his email. It took me that long because I edited out all of the things I wanted to say and instead said something along the lines of, oh, jaded daddy, oh. Was fatherhood that soul-killing for you? And then he sent me a reply stating that he was not jaded and that he just thought that I was getting out of... I was not jaded, and that if I thought I was getting out of hashing through this subject over cocktails, I was sorely mistaken. Oh, goody. Well, what I think I'm going to have to do instead is wait until I have been all jacked up on hormones and then go hash it out with him. Now, after all of that, my issue, I know which issue. Stay with me, people. I am my father's daughter. Okay? I'm a walking, talking, breathing, shitting, fucking version of him in almost every negative way. I did get a lot of good things from him too, but those aren't the ones that I'm worried about when it comes to being a mother someday. My father isn't my parent, he's my fucking frat buddy. That man has told me things and has done that no child should ever have to know about their father. And don't worry, I will talk about some of his best. Focus up, people. I don't want to be my child's buddy. I want to be their parent, and I don't know if I am strong enough to fight the nature and nurture that is crafted into the train wreck that I am today. Holy hell. As my father always says, shit in one hand, want in the other, and see which one fills up first. I'm still not entirely sure what the hell that means, but he always said it when there was something that I wanted that he did not want to give. Shit in one hand, want in the other, and see which one fills up first. Honestly, it just feels like this. Okay, there's that.